Well, I'm joined on set for the press review by Alison Sargent, and we're starting with reactions to the ongoing protests in Hong Kong over the now suspended extradition bill. And we can see there some of the 2 million protesters on the front page in that photo.
That's right, Olivia. Photos of that mass protest on Sunday have made the front pages of many papers in Europe, including the New York Times European International Edition. We can also take a look at Swiss paper Le Temps. They're calling it the Hong Kong Spring. According to organizers, the number of protesters was literally double what it was last Sunday. Nearly 2 million people, as you said, about 28% of Hong Kong's population, actually. And there's a cartoon in British paper, The Times, from Peter Schrank that's paying tribute, really, to the bravery of these protesters coming out despite the quite aggressive police response during the protests on Wednesday. We see here this protester staring down the barrel of a Chinese tank, an image that sort of echoes the Tank Man photo from the Tiananmen Square student protests 30 years ago. Now, this demonstration prompted a statement of apology from Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam, a belated apology for the South China Morning Post. They say even when backing down on the extradition bill, as Carrie Lam did this weekend, well, her harsh style, they say, has really fueled public anger. Lawmakers told the paper that these protests have become about much more than just this extradition bill. They say they're now a display of dissatisfaction at a range of social issues that plague Hong Kong.
Okay, so a consensus there in Hong Kong. That's the Hong Kong side of things. But how is the Chinese press reacting to these developments?
Well, first of all, you won't see any of these photos from this protest in any of the Chinese papers today. The China Daily, though, does mention Hong Kong on their front page. They headline with a statement from the Hong Kong government saying they respect and treasure their core values. And in their editorial, the paper actually talks about foreign meddling in Hong Kong, a theme that's also getting brought up in the Global Times, another Chinese paper. This opinion writer says that it's, quote, no accident that this is happening in tandem with Washington's intensified drive worldwide to beat down a rising China. According to the Global Times, local anti-Beijing forces are being cheered on by allies in London and Washington, which is sort of what we see illustrated here behind me in this accompanying cartoon. The U.S. there is adding fuel to the fire.
I think that's a very clear cartoon there. Now we're moving on to Namibia next, where the government's selling wild animals from its national parks to game farms, and that's in a bid to try and save them from a drought.
That's right. Namibia is facing its second drought in 3 years. It's actually gotten so bad that the president declared a national emergency there in May. The government worries that under current conditions, the national parks won't be able to provide enough food for all of the animals there to survive. And the Independent reports that that's why they're looking to reduce the number of animals in the park by selling them off, animals like buffalo, elephants, giraffes. The irony, though, in a way, is that they're selling these animals to game farmers who then raise the animals to be hunted and then killed. So I guess the trade-off is that it could then save the lives of the animals that do stay behind in the park. But it all just goes to show sort of the desperate measures that governments are having to go to deal with climate change.
Absolutely. Now we're moving on for a quick word on the World Cup. Now here we're all focused on the Women's World Cup in France, but there is a Cricket World Cup taking place in England, in fact.
That's right, and papers in the UK and in India are going wild over the latest match, which was an epic showdown between India and Pakistan on Sunday. It wasn't the final, but this is really the match of the Cricket World Cup for fans in India and Pakistan. Big rivalry there. Spectators included Bollywood stars and billionaires who flew in by a private jet. It took place in Manchester, but was watched by over 1 billion people worldwide, so one of the most watched sporting events. India was the winner of that match. In fact, they have beaten Pakistan every time the teams have played each other in the World Cup. The Times of India headlines here, Rohit rains runs, drowns Pakistan's hopes. That's a reference to both the weather, because there were a lot of intermittent rain showers on Sunday, and also India's star player, Rohit Sharma, who was the big scorer of the match. You can see him again here in The Hindu. It was, of course, a big disappointment for Pakistani fans. They were hoping to finally get their win in there. It didn't happen. Pakistani paper The Dawn has rounded up some of the social media reactions. This Twitter user is saying, "These are the tears of a Pakistani fan. Do not mistake them for rain."
He does indeed look devastated. Now we're staying in Pakistan for this next story. A Facebook live stream of a conference by a Pakistani minister went viral. Now, that doesn't normally happen.
That's right. It doesn't normally happen. It sounds boring, right? A conference from a minister. But when you see these images, you can understand why it might have gone viral. If you notice anything behind me there, Olivia, strange about this minister's face. It is adorable. He has cat ears. It turns out the person doing the live stream accidentally or maybe on purpose left the cat filter on. Many people pointing out, just like you did, Olivia, that he actually looks quite cute with cat ears. And I have to agree as well. I kind of wish France 24 had a cat filter.
We should definitely look into that. Now, one last story from you, Alison. This is another mishap involving facial recognition.
That's right, and this one is about a woman in the UK who asked for a Mariah Carey themed birthday cake, but as you can see there, her cake had an image of a very different woman on it. That is Mary Curie, the Nobel Prize-winning scientist.
Also an icon.
Also an icon. She's not looking very festive, but yeah, it's still an icon. She's another award winner. She didn't get a Grammy. She got a Nobel Prize, but whatever. In theory, the cake shop made a mistake, but I think, and maybe misheard the name, but I think maybe they're just fans of physics more so than pop music.
Indeed, and why not? Thank you very much, Alison. And for a closer look at today's press review, or to catch up on previous editions, you can check out our website, france24.com.